Outfits and everything. All right. So we
Like
are
bowling shirts?
like drindle skirts and what do you call them? Lederhosen
Oh, okay.
and that kind of stuff.
Did they start out with earlier hosen and then they went to later
Later
hosen?
they
Bowling
became,
shirts?
yeah. Like drindle skirts and whoops, there I go. Okay, there we go. And it's always so annoying, but it just is another test of what's happening here. Okay. So so yeah, Bruce and I are here to read Absence from Felicity. And I just was talking with my group earlier about where Jesus was saying in to Helen in Absence from Felicity that God doesn't really know about the future because it doesn't exist and it's part of my dream. And because people are thinking, oh, the future and God's gonna do this, God did this and God didn't, yeah, no, this is not God's world. This is a man's world. It is a human's world. It's a world that we made up.
Very
So,
much made up.
and it's reflecting directly back to us what we think we are. I love it. It's so perfect in that way that you can't really be confused about it. Anyway, good morning. And so, how about you, Bruce? What's going on with you?
Well, uh, been an interesting week. I've used world events, you might say, to look at my unconscious mind a little more deeply than usual.
Mhm.
And it's been interesting to Wednesday morning I went out for a walk, and the first thing that it went into my AirPods from Ken Wapnick was, we put our faith in illusions. I thought, I think regardless of, your perspective on things, I think that's true in so many ways. And um, I think it's helpful to reflect on when we're pleased or disappointed, whether which is really basically um, basically just a special love, special hate of circumstances. We can just say, wow, that's what egos do, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a symbol of our investment.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
whatever we've invested ourselves in, an idol,
Yeah.
that is what we're going to see. And all idols must fall. There's not a single idol that's going to satisfy us.
No, how could it possibly? How could something specific um m really satisfy us? Because what we really want is the eternal. We want the ephemeral is a consolation prize that the ego keeps offering and morphing into different variations and trying to say, well, how about this? How about that? And then when we, reach that supposed goal or state or experience or achievement, whatever, it's like, well, okay, well, that didn't exactly, it might have satisfied for a moment or maybe a few, but then it's like, okay, now what? Sort of like any form of magic, like breathing's a great example. You take a breath and you say, wow, that felt good. And then, 20 seconds later, you need to do it again.
That's right. Gee whiz. You mean I can't just take one and have it
I
last
know.
forever?
Wait, I mean, if it's supposed to be so great, why did it just take the first time,
I know. Gosh, how funny that is. So, so here we are. I went back a couple pages because I wanted to read in the whole entirety this
Okay.
message from Jesus.
Hmm.
So I don't know if you'd like to read. He's talking about the truly helpful prayer in the special principles of miracle
Oh, there
workers.
it is. Yeah, I see that. Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it
we
is
actually that's perfect. It looks like about three paragraphs backed up from where I had the marker from last
right.
week. So, yeah,
You want to read?
sure, sure.
Okay.
So just for people who just joined us, as always, well, for the last year and few months now, we've been reading Absence from Felicity, the story of Helen Schuckman and her scribing of A Course in Miracles by Kenneth Wapnick, PhD. And in the print version of the book, we're on a page 299, and we're going to back up to the quoted section. Actually, maybe I'll back up a sentence or so to Ken's commentary, and then start with a quoted section. I'll just say, let's see. Uh, the message was, maybe I'll just that whole paragraph that starts with in January 1966, top of the page. So in January 1966, Bill was asked by the administration of the medical center to attend a conference on the basic principles of rehabilitation at Princeton, New Jersey, sponsored by the New York Academy of Sciences. He did not wish to go, but felt that he was supposed to, which is corroborated in the following dictation, which was designed to help Bill accept this assignment, in quotes. Cat that wants attention. A cat that doesn't want to go somewhere or wants something different. Huh, Sophie? Yeah. Okay. Got my cat for a moment. The message was not meant for A Course in Miracles itself, but the final prayer, which summarizes the theme of the message, was clearly supposed to be included. It has actually proven to be one of the more popular passages in the material and is currently found slightly changed in chapter 2 of the text, closing the section on, quote, special principles of miracle workers, unquote. Here is the message in its entirety. And I'll read, well, maybe I'll read the first three paragraphs to catch us up to where we left off last week, and then you can pick up with the remaining three. How's that sound? All good? Or I can read the whole thing.
Yes, that's great. Go ahead.
Either way. Okay. All right. Well, here's the first three paragraphs
All right.
of the message. The truly helpful are God's miracle workers, whom I direct until we are all united in the joy of the kingdom. I will direct you to wherever you can be truly helpful and to whoever can follow my guidance through you. I arranged, and then there's a footnote, number 79 in this book. See page 277, footnote 70, for an explanation of the meaning of the terms like choosing, making assignments, or arranged, all in quotes, in connection with Jesus or the Holy Spirit. I think Ken, just pausing there for a moment, when Ken always points out, and rightly so, that whenever the Course meets us at the level that we're at, it sometimes seems to take the form of Holy Spirit getting involved in the dream and rearranging um, the specifics and helping us out in our realm of space and time and form. And really, that's just what we're doing with our mind. And it's basically meeting us where we're at so that we can have a more peaceful experience and feel like we have support, sort of like training wheels, until we get to the point where we realize that we're really doing it all ourselves with our choice of decision in the decision-making part of our mind for the Holy Spirit thought system, which is the correction, for the ego thought system, which is the belief in separation. So really, it's our choice for undoing the belief in separation that is doing all the work. But we call it Holy Spirit, and because we think of things outside of us, we think of Holy Spirit or Jesus is outside of us too, and so that's how the Course meets us where we think we're at. So anyway, with that little caveat and footnote, in fact, I'll just start that sentence again. I arranged for Bill to attend the rehabilitation meetings for very good reasons, and I want him to know them so we can share our goal there. Properly speaking, every mind which is split needs rehabilitation. The medical, oh, excuse me, the medical orientation emphasizes the body, and the vocational orientation stresses the ego. The team approach generally leads to more confusion than anything else because it is too often misused as an expedient for sharing the ego's dominion with other egos rather than a real experiment in cooperation of minds. The reason why Bill needs this experience is because he needs rehabilitation himself. How often have I answered, quote, help him, unquote, when you ask me to help you? He too has asked for help, and he has been helped whenever he was truly helpful to you. He has also gained to whatever extent he could give. He will help you more truly by going if he can remember all the time that he is there, that his only reason for being there is to represent me. Well, there's an obvious uh, idea that can be generalized, is that if we are representing our right mind, um, the mind that recognized that the separation never happened, that really undoes the belief in separation and denies the denial of truth, that's really all we need to do in any situation. I think that's the generalization that the Course keeps nudging us ever onward toward. Huh?
Right. And that's, I mean, he really the way that this is written is so sweet because first off, to go back to where he says, I arranged it, it's the Christ mind that is within us that is arranging
Mm-hmm.
our experiences to give us, what could you not accept if you but knew all things past, present, and to come are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good. That doesn't mean that, God sitting around writing up a script for us because we already wrote the script.
Mm-hmm.
But in the script, the plan of the Holy Spirit was made uh, to give us an alternate version of what seemed to be happening to us. And so uh, all of these things, it was in the script for Bill to go to this place, but it's also in the script for Bill to recognize that he was there to represent the Christ. And, it's in the script for you and I to read this book. It's also in the script that you and I are to recognize that we are here to represent the Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really an essential difference in what we experience and what we project into the experience or how we interpret the experience. I guess interpretation is a big part of this because
Interpretation is huge.
yeah.
In fact, I jot. So a lot of times when I'm out walking, I'm listening to Ken, and sometimes I'll jot down things he says, verbatim, and other times, he'll say something that just kind of reminds me of an idea. So what, in the latter category this morning, um, I jotted down on my little notes app on my phone, that our gradual change in interpretation from fearful to neutral corresponds to our gradual change in identity from separate, lonely, and uncertain to inclusive, guiltless, and peaceful. So, but it's our interpretation of everything. That's really the cause, isn't it? I mean, and I guess the interpretation and identity really go hand in hand as cause. So it's what we choosing to identify with, which then it corresponds to what we are, how we interpret things. So, but all that's going on in the mind, and it's really just kind of a package deal, isn't it? We either interpret the world as a fearful place by listening to ego's propaganda and accept that identity, or we question that identity, and then to the degree that we question it, our real identity then is revealed to us, which is a peaceful one. It's and becomes more and more consistently peaceful as the more we consistently undo the ego's misidentity, misidentification.
Exactly. And the word that you said over and over here, consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And that is honesty, according to the um, uh, uh, characteristics of God's teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Honesty is consistency.
Right.
And when I first read that, I'm like, well, inconsistency, I'm not sure what that, but I'll figure it out, right? Because the ego likes to figure things out. But then I actually did begin to see that it's when what I think, what I do, what I see, what I hear is consistent in my
Mm-hmm.
mind.
Yeah.
That not that I behave in a consistent manner, although essentially I will behave in a consistent manner when I am in a consistent thought system where I am aware completely that I'm not alone, that God is part of me, God is loving me, and that consistency comes about when I'm not afraid. I'm not trying to scramble around to, figure something out so that I can be safe.
Mhm.
And the only way that I really feel safe is to be in that state of trust. So um, I love what you said there, and that's, I mean, that this is our challenge for all of us, right?
Mhm. Oh, big time. Yeah.
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 So, do you want me to read?
Sure. Go for
Okay.
it.
So, so the reason I love this, and I'm glad I'm going to read this because I really love this. Uh, the reason why Bill needs this experience is because he needs rehabilitation himself. How often have I answered, help him, when you ask me to help you? He too has asked for help, and he has been helped whenever he was truly helpful to you. He has also gained to whatever extent he could give. He will help you more truly by going, if he can remember all the time he is there, that he is there, that his only reason for being there is to represent me. Rehabilitation as a movement has been an improvement over overt neglect, but it is often little more than a painful attempt on the part of the halt, which that's like an old thing that means like the lame or that them who can't walk properly or whatever, to lead the blind. Bill, you will see this at every meeting, but this is not why you were chosen to go. You have a fear of broken bodies because your ego cannot tolerate them. Your ego cannot tolerate ego weakness either without ambivalence because it is afraid of its own weakness and the weakness of its chosen home. And this is just so clear because I see this in myself. I mean, I don't want to see people who are broken or having difficulties. I'm always wanting to come up with a solution for them. I'm always wanting to have they tried this? Does it, did the doctor do this? Do you did you study this? Did you figure this out? I'm constantly trying to fix what appears to be broken in the world. And it doesn't matter if it's a broken body or a broken heart or broken mind or broken whatever it is that appears to be broken. I don't like it, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, it's not like, oh, Lynn, you're particularly evil because of this, uh, because I'm not. Seriously.
It's the thought system that's broken, and that's what
Yeah.
no ego wants to look at. As long as it's got a scapegoat that's like, well, there's something broken in the world that I need to do, that it can stay in firefighting mode and saying, well, I got to fix this, now fix that, now fix this. And we did that with our bodies, certainly first and foremost, and then our homes and our neighborhoods and our, countries, and the list goes on and on. But obviously every relationship that we're involved in, and to one extent or another. And we emphasize the things that we're most involved in or closest to, and yet every specific is, if we think of ourselves as separate from the others in those relationships or those situations, that's what's broken. And that's why the course is such a radical course. Is the only thing that can be consistent, getting back to the honesty thing, is a mind that's outside of space and time, and a brain that's firmly rooted in space and time, and the ego thought system that makes use of it. Um, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the brain. It's just that when we use our split mind uh, to manipulate the world, or attempt to, we're basically missing the whole point. We're using the puppet metaphor. We're trying to dispatch ambulances to puppets on the stage, and yeah, puppets don't need help. It's the puppet master, the puppeteer, that is causing the puppets to battle and drip fake blood on the little puppet stage.
Exactly.
that is the problem. If we got to get back to the puppeteer's script, and why does the puppeteer feel a need to have all these horrific things play out that are fragmentary, disintegrating, and
And why is that?
dissociating, and polarizing, and and oppositional? Yeah,
Because that's what the ego wants to see.
right.
And that's the whole point of all of it, is the ego wants to see brokenness.
Hmm.
And even, I had read a study some time ago, which I thought was fascinating. It really is very interesting. Where what they did was, they took photographs of, a bunch of people, and then they split them down the middle and did a reflection so that it looked so that both halves of the face were equal. Okay, so and if you look at yourself in the mirror and you do that, you'll see, I have one side of my face that's, longer, has, bigger, jowl, the eye is different, they're different, okay? So they put them together, and then they did a lineup of people, and they had people go through and look at all these photographs, of both um, the real person and the half and half, uh the equal, both sides being equal, and consistently, with no exception, people preferred the balanced faces. They were more attracted to that which was the same on both sides. Okay, so that's, interesting in itself. What they theorized is that genetically, we see that as being healthier, stronger, and more adaptable. And so, from evolution, we've evolved to prefer um, that there are no differences in the face. Now, uh, this goes to huge social implications everywhere, because it involves us seeing differences, and really something in the brain, some genetic thing that is generating these preferences, but they have nothing to do with our reality. So it goes into, if you see someone who, has a limp, or or had a stroke, or, whatever, you're going to see them in a different light than if they, were what you would consider whole. And this, we don't escape that, we don't escape that. As long as we have vision and we can look at things in the world and see that, we're going to judge people based on their physical, how they look. And it's within that very limited area of tolerance that the brain says this is acceptable. And you look at, models, or famous people who, are like the most beautiful person in the world on People magazine or whatever. You'll notice that there is that consistent, not always, but pretty consistent equality on the both sides of the face of the body. And so, long story short, uh, the mechanism for that judgment is the body itself. The body itself says, I can't tolerate something outside of this. So if you're a different shade of white, or a different color of this, or your hair is different, or I can't tolerate it. It's not within my ability to accept and be good with. And so Bill himself, first off, having, intense judgments on himself for his brokenness, intense judgments on his body and his health, intense judgments on his own mind and his homosexuality. And he was just like judging himself without mercy. And so he had to come to see that that judgment was not only not right, it was not fair, it was not good, and it wasn't helping him. And eventually in his life, which we see in Never Forget to Laugh, he came to that point, just like Ken, Ken was like that. I mean, there are people that you meet in this world who are just flat not judging you. And but he had to go through this because at this point in his maturation or evolution, psychologically or spiritually, he was deep in judgment. So, I think it's really, this is a really important thing to note because you and I are no different. And, even though you may, I mean, I look at a picture of Bruce and I see, there's a symmetrical person. Yeah, honestly, I think your left brain and right brain work together well. You're symmetrical in, I mean,
Oh, there's plenty of things that are asymmetrical, but
I know, I know that, but
I was thinking, and I was born in Texas, so I think
whoa,
A Texas version of the ego would be deep in the heart of judgment. You mentioned
exactly,
judgment,
exactly.
but anyway,
Yeah, but so this is what there
that's interesting about the symmetry. Yeah, yeah,
when
but
when Jesus says, and when you ask, help me, and he says, help Bill, help him,
right.
because we need to get out of that.
Well, there's the imbalance if you want to think about it. In every relationship, whether it's a romantic partner, a business partner, or just someone, you walk up to a street vendor or um, person who's directing traffic or whatever the person happens to be, and their role is irrelevant. It's like if I think of the other person as different, there's the asymmetry. There's the imbalance that the Holy Spirit says, you're making this up. It's not real, because the sameness is really the truth beyond and behind the form. And the balance and the symmetry and the harmony is only possible when sameness as a premise is accepted. And everything that seems uh, counter to that is really a projection of a split mind that wants differences to be real. And we made up an entire cosmos of space and time that is different and asymmetrical and divided and constantly bifurcating. I mean, think of mitosis and meiosis. It's how it's constantly just on a biological level, taking things that are the same and saying, well, let's make this different now. And kind of let's mix this up and mix that up and mix that up. And pretty soon, you have a gazillion genotypes and phenotypes, if I remember my high school and college biology. And and it's like, well, but how could we not have a polarizing system and an oppositional, confrontational, adversarial world if we didn't have an ego driving the whole thing behind the scenes saying let's make differences, make them big deals, and and make them matter. And our inner Bill Murray says it just doesn't matter.
Just doesn't matter.
We're
Just
all the
doesn't
same.
matter.
It doesn't matter whether we win or lose on the level of form. If we think we're form, we've lost, and we're dragging everyone with us. But if we can recognize the spirit, which is the Christ mind, then we're all winners. And
Exactly,
no one
exactly.
loses. Yeah, yeah.
And it's it amazes me as long as I've been studying this course, I still get triggered by differences that seem to be out of whack. Something bad is happening.
Sure. Oh, sure, sure.
So we all need to be rehabilitated, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think anytime that we elect wordplay intended to let the ego run the show, we're voting again for insanity. I think I mentioned last week, I wrote a blog post a week or two ago about that we're always voting It's on
Yes.
ACIM blog, and but it keeps coming back to me. It's like, I wrote it before the election, but it seems even more pertinent after, to realize it's like, if I'm banking on illusion, if I'm wanting the dream to make me happy, that's insanity, isn't it? Yeah, thanks. Thanks for bringing that up on the screen there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I mean,
yeah,
and I'm always doing that, if I want to make differences real, if I want to, you know, it's the old thing of, is this a private fight or can anyone join? You know, that
yeah.
ego is always wanting to take sides and make a wrong and a right out of something that's intrinsically neutral in the dream.
Exactly. And for those who are listening on ACIM Gather Radio or in the Pal Talk, it's acimblog.com is Bruce's website. Very, very good article about how we elect. And that's the thing. I was doing the same thing. I was really preparing my mind and knowing that whatever even okay, if the candidate I preferred won, you know would that make me happy?
Hmm.
And if that's the case, then what is the basis of my happiness? What
Hmm.
is the basis of my safety?
Right,
and
right.
and and it's almost it honestly set it up for the candidate I didn't want to win, because otherwise I would have just thought, okay, everything's right, no problem, let's go on, and never have stopped.
Well, and I think that's why, not just in this particular election, but every moment of every day, if we're really looking with Holy Spirit at the world, we can see that no matter how things turn out, nothing truly in this world can make us happy, because this world is just a result. How can an effect change the cause? It's only the cause that can change the effect.
That's right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but we conveniently reverse cause and effect, and that's what the course called level confusion. And we do that because we want to feel like we're at the mercy. And the only reason we want to feel like we're at the mercy of the world is because the consolation prize of that is I get to be a separate individual.
That's right.
And then when we recognize that that really isn't making us happy, we can, with practice, consistently choose against that identification and let Holy Spirit's identification of a real self, with capital S self, which includes everyone in that assessment, even though we can't understand quite yet what that means. but the shared interest, I think, and the sameness that's behind the form is really vital to that process, isn't it?
It
Seeing that,
is.
we're all in the same boat here.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And that shared interest is so essential. I mean, that's
Hmm.
what makes a teacher of God.
Yep.
uh, that
Yeah.
your interests and another's are not different.
Hmm.
Otherwise, we're just in it for ourselves. And and I can't pick and choose, oh, this is the other I want to be the same with. I want, if there was, think about this, Bruce, how horrible it would be, how ridiculously sad it would be if there was one person in this sonship that was unable to actually recognize themselves as the Christ. That the
Hmm.
Christ is in everybody but this one.
We'd
That
all be doomed, wouldn't
we'd
we?
all be doomed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has to be everywhere.
Yeah. There's
And
there's a there's a story about, I think it was it wasn't Tolstoy, but it was um, another author that Ken was quoting, and he wrote a book where, um, it was, if you could, it was sort of like this metaphoric question, or that's not the right word, but hypothetical is the word I was looking for. Question that was asked in this book of, if you could save the world from all of its ills, if just one child had to cry, would you do it? And, from the course's perspective, the correct answer is no, because that basically implies that the separation is real. If one child is still crying, you're basically saying that there has to be a compromise. But in truth, there is no compromise, because everyone is complete, whole, innocent, and undivided.
exactly.
That's not our experience, and that's why it's, and amazingly challenging course, but amazingly enough. We not only have the potential, but we all will ultimately want to undo the ego and return to that sameness, even though it seems almost hopeless. The course reminds us, the ego may be foolproof, but it's not God-proof. And because we're all dreaming, uh, you know, the awareness outside of us that we call Holy Spirit tells us that, you know, we all will wake up from the dream because it's a dream.
That's right.
And all the things that seem to have happened in the dream haven't happened in eternity. They've only happened in this little made up realm that we call space-time. And it's we think of it as huge, spanning hundreds or thousands or billions of light years or however much, whatever the current estimate is, and of
Yes.
space and billions of years of time, and yet it's all made up. It's just
Yeah.
phenomenal and staggering to consider that
It is staggering.
we went to that extreme, those lengths to hide from our intrinsic oneness.
And actually, we're not even really hiding. We're just diverting our attention to something else and saying, this
Right,
is this is what's important to me. This is
right,
what's
right.
real. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
And it's all based on judgment.
Children's
This is
toys, as
why,
the course
what's the
puts it.
last
Yeah,
judgment?
yeah, yeah.
It's all based on, a story
Hmm.
that we're making up about things that have absolutely no, I mean, nothing is more important than anything else. Nothing is bigger or better or worse or anything. Ah, it's just nothing. Nothing I see here means anything. Right there.
Uh-huh,
Boom.
uh-huh.
So let's see. Well, let me continue reading.
Sure.
So we got off on a little tangent there, talking about how seeing differences and tolerating ego weakness. I'm just going to read that.
Okay. And
Rehabilitation.
just a real quick
Yeah, go ahead.
aside, we've just now turned on to page 300 out of 511 in the print version of the book. So we're about three-fifths of the way through the book, give or take.
Moving right along.
Yeah, getting there anyway.
All right. So rehabilitation as a movement has been an improvement over overt neglect, but it is often little more than a painful attempt on the part of the halt to lead the blind. This is what I just read.
Mhm.
Um, Bill, you will see this at every meeting, but this is not why you're chosen to go. You have a fear of broken bodies because your ego cannot tolerate them. Your ego cannot tolerate ego weakness either without ambivalence because it is afraid of its own weakness and the weakness of its chosen home. That is really why you recoil from the demands of the dependent and from the sight of a broken body. Your ego is threatened and blocks your natural impulse to help, placing you under the strain of divided will. You withdraw to allow your ego to recover and to regain enough strength to be helpful again on a basis limited enough not to threaten your ego, but also too limited to give you joy.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Hmm. I think can all relate to that because, we're as Judy Sketch Whitson pointed out in her conversation with an Olympic athlete, the course is Olympic level mind training because, it requires eventually a total acceptance of our real identity. And as long as we're just, hobbyists and dabblers in the course, the understanding and the practice of the course, um, we're just going to get pretty limited results. And I think that judging the course on the basis of any of us who are not yet complete practitioners is unfair because we need to really get to the heart of what the course is saying, and like Jesus was saying to Helen, and early on, it's like, and because she was complaining how difficult it was or something like this, and I think that's what we've already read in this book, and Jesus' response was, well, have you ever considered that you haven't really tried completely to apply what I've
Right.
suggested?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
If
but that's okay. I mean, there's nothing evil, sinful, or wicked about that, as Ken would say. It's just silly that we're such foot draggers, and to be gentle and patient with ourselves and kind, because because we're all afraid of what that really implies. Is that means that the self that I think I am, sooner or later is going to be irrelevant and just like absurd to identify with. And
yeah,
that's incredibly threatening to every ego. And yet there's really nothing to threaten there, in truth.
I mean, we're disagreeing with Jesus,
Hmm.
and like, have you seen the video? You know, Hakeem Hamza.
Yeah, I had a nice conversation with him, in fact, some months ago.
He
And
put out a
I've read
video.
I read of some of his book that he sent me
Oh,
to read.
nice, nice.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
he put out a video that will, if you haven't seen it, will literally make you laugh.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Let me see. I'm not going to play it. I'm just going to get the link for you
Okay. Okay. All right.
because, or I could play it.
Well, or actually, you want to just put it in the chat, and then I can take a look at it, and then we can talk about it
Yeah,
next time.
that's right. That's what I'm going to do is I
Okay.
just want to make sure that I only get this link and don't get the next
Okay.
link because
Okay.
I don't like that happens to me sometimes. So
Yeah, I agree
yeah,
that works.
okay.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
called "This Can't Be Right." So if you see it, it will crack you up or crack me
Sounds
up.
good. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm about a third of the way through his book, and I need to pick that up again and finish it. It's some good stuff. Yeah, he
Yeah,
does a
he's a
good
really
job.
good guy. I'm gonna have a
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
conversation with him on the 25th. I think is
Oh, great.
he asked to is the chat. And now I can't find the chat. No, it's
It's right in
here.
front of me.
Let's see. Oh, here we go. Sometimes it's on the dot dot dot. Sometimes it's
Hmm.
on the bar.
I think Zoom keeps adding more little bells and whistles, and some of the things that you use most get buried into the dot
Get
dot
moving.
dot
Yeah,
more icon. Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so okay. Well, there it is in the chat. Okay. So all right. So let's see. Those with broken bodies are often down on by the ego because of its belief that nothing but a perfect body is worthy as its own temple. A mind that recoils from a hurt body is in great need of rehabilitation itself. A damaged brain is also hardly a danger. All symptoms of hurt need true helpfulness, and whenever they are met with this, the mind that so meets them heals itself. And so, yeah, it's meet all everything, and it's our interpretation. I'm the one that says, "Oh, cancer's bad." I'm the one that says a broken leg is bad. I'm the one that says, and it's like that old story of the farmer that, you know, his son was riding a horse and he fell off and broke his leg, and the neighbors all
Hmm.
said, "Oh, that's so bad." And then the next day the generals came and they said, "We want to take all these boys who can walk
Abled bodies. Yeah. Right.
to the war." And
Able-bodied
he
men.
but they all said, "Oh, that's good." And that it's a long story. It goes on with a
Hmm.
lot of different things. Oh, that's
It
good. Oh,
just keeps flipping, flopping between good and bad, depending on
yeah.
all these changing circumstances. And so, I think that's a wonderful story. And there's a lady in our Wednesday night group that tells that occasionally, and it's so helpful because it reminds us that, you know, ego is so fickle, and there's another adjective that is struggling to come to mind. But anyway, but it's um, temperamental and unstable, and that's basically the whole, you know, the lack of stability, the lack of uh, certainty, the lack of consistency. I guess there's another word we were using before,
Yeah.
is really at the heart of uh, what the ego is it can't be consistent because there's nothing there to be consistent with.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no good or bad, so it's all that's all thinking makes it so.
Hmm.
um, and that's simple enough, isn't it?
Hmm.
We all agree on that, and yet come the election and people like, whoa, no. Hey, remember that course in miracles? Anyway, okay. Um, so let's see. Let's see. Now, is this Ken saying people recoiling?
Yes, yeah, we're
Okay,
finally done with
okay.
the quoted
Because we're
materials.
okay.
Right.
So this is now Ken speaking. People recoiling from another's injury are reflecting their own need of healing, since they are, in the later words of the course, making the error real. Sickness is only of the mind, and it's in its defense against the reality of Christ's perfection as God's Son. It thus is illusory, as the workbook later says. And now this is a quote from Workbook Lesson 190. Pain is but witness to the son's mistakes in what he thinks he is. Pain is a sign. Illusions reign in place of truth. If God is real, there is no pain. If pain is real, there is no God. How many times have we said this over and over and over again? If God is real, there is no pain. If pain is real, there is no God. Um,
Yep.
simple, simple, but not easy to
Lesson
see and believe.
190. Yep. Yeah, it's one or the other. And
One or the other.
that's the right use of one or the other. That's the vertical choice rather than the ego's countless illusory choices of between illusion A, illusion B, illusion C, ad infinitum to illusion, umpteen Z.
Yeah.
But they're all the same, you know.
And our job here is to train the mind to see that, to
Hmm.
recognize that, hey, oh, if I'm falling into the hole, oh,
Right.
this is, I'm looking at it this the wrong way. And the easiest way is to know, how do you feel? Jesus says, you want to know, how do you feel? If I'm feeling upset about something, duh, no doubt,
Hmm.
I need to look at myself because,
Right.
I'm
Right.
obviously thinking something's happening that couldn't possibly happen.
Right.
So
Right.
let's
And
see.
and and it's the interpretations that I keep coming back to are just they're not evil, sinful, or wicked. They're just um, silly. They're basically designed by our ego mind to preserve um, something that doesn't serve us. The maladaptive solution to the non-existent problem,
Exactly.
as Ken
Exactly.
says. Yeah.
And we are the ones who keep that alive.
Yeah. Shall I
So
read on?
yes, sure.
Okay. I think we can get to another favorite quote here that's coming up in about a half a page. Looking past illusions to the truth is the only truly helpful response to another, healing both the mind that believes it is sick and the mind that perceives another as sick, as separation is the only cause of sickness. I think I'm going to underline that. It's amazing that I didn't before. It's healing can only come through joining. And there's the shared interest. There's the seeing the sameness between ourselves and anyone we meet or think about. The message to Bill continues. Rehabilitation is an attitude of praising God as he himself knows praise. And then there's a footnote right under that that says the use of the word praise in quotes here does not, of course, reflect its general meaning. Rather, it is used as an expression of the love of God, which unites us with him in spirit, transcending all thoughts of bodies, sick and well. So I'll read that again. Rehabilitation is an attitude of praising God as he himself knows praise. He offers praise to you, and you must offer it to others. The real limitations on clinical psychology, as it is evaluated by its followers at present, are not reflected by the attitudes of psychiatrists or medical boards or hospitals administrators, even though most of them are sadly in need of rehabilitation themselves. And if you've watched the Apple TV series Shrinking It All, it's a humorous look at three very, um, uh, from the course's perspective, like all of us, psychotic psychotherapists, and how their patients often help them solve their mental problems. I don't know if you've seen that at all, but it's a pretty funny show.
I've seen
Uh,
it advertised. It looks like it might be pretty funny.
it's
So
kind of fun, yeah.
I'll have to check
Harrison
it out.
Ford and Jessica Williams from The Daily Show, and another fellow whose name escapes me at the moment. The three psychiatrists, and it's pretty funny, pretty funny. Um, so, and Ken often says, that if you're around a course student, it can be pretty challenging because oftentimes they're bliss in the knees. And he says if you're around a course student who's also a psychologist or a psychotherapist, that could be really challenging. And then the psychotherapy, he says that sort of tongue in cheek, but you can see where, if you've already, figured out whether you think what the problem is from a worldly perspective or from an ego perspective, it's like, well, okay, that could be a harder, you know, a challenge right there, to be overcome. And that's basically reflected in a lot of what's in the psychotherapy pamphlet, the with the comment that to me epitomizes and summarizes the whole supplement is, which is, I'll paraphrase as, healing begins when the therapist forgets to judge the patient. I think
Exactly.
I think that's so hugely helpful, and that's true for all of us, and not just in clinical settings, of course. Yeah. So anyway, I'll start up again. The real handicaps of the clinicians lie in their attitudes to those uh, whom their egos perceive as weakened and damaged. There it is. By these evaluations, they have weakened and damaged their own helpfulness and have thus set their own rehabilitation back. Rehabilitation is not concerned with the ego's fight for control, nor the ego's need to avoid and withdraw. And here's this wonderful quote that I think many of us know, and it's the folks at Foundation for Inner Peace often read this at the beginning of every meeting, pretty much, as far as I know, still doing this. And they call it the prayer for salvation. And it says, Bill, you can do much on behalf of your own rehabilitation and Helen's, and much more universally as well, if you think of the Princeton meetings in this way. And that specific message was generalized in the course. I'm sure the language already probably sounds a little familiar to those who've read it many times.
Yes.
And here
It's
it is. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent Christ who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because the one who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. And well, here they're calling it the guide to salvation. I think the FIP folks will call it the prayer for salvation. Same idea. Yeah.
yeah.
And then it says the guide to salvation in chapter 5 was in part originally meant for Bill. It read like this in the original notebooks. Bill, who has made a number of vital contributions to our joint venture, was made a major one a while ago, which he himself did not appreciate or even understand. If we recognize its value together, we will be able to use it together because it was an idea and therefore must be shared to be held. When Bill said that he was determined, quote, not to see you that way, unquote, he was speaking negatively. If he will state the same idea positively, he will see the power of what he said. He had realized that there were two ways of seeing you and also that they were diametrically opposed to one another. These two ways must be in his mind because he was referring to himself as the perceiver. They must also be in yourself because he was perceiving you. And then there's is that footnote for this? It doesn't have a number, but I'm going to read the footnote that's immediately under that. It says, whereas sickness symbolizes our separation from God by rooting us in our bodies, rehabilitation, or in parentheses, healing, reflects the change of mind that ultimately rejoins us with him, praising God as he himself knows praise. Well, actually, I think that was the continuation of the footnote from the previous page, actually. But it all fits. It all ties together, huh?
It always ties together because it's holographic.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
of this is.
Isn't
We're
it
living
though?
in a hologram.
Yep, exactly. Well,
So
that brings us to the top of page 302. Do you want to read another paragraph?
sure. And
Good
yeah,
time.
we'll go ahead and just read here till the end, I think. So within the world of separation, every person's mind contains both ways of seeing. The ego's mind, the ego's guilt and attack, and the Holy Spirit's forgiveness and unity. Excuse me. I didn't mean to cough in your ears. Also, within this illusory world, Bill's perception of Helen ensures that she is there as well. On the metaphysical level, on the other hand, A Course in Miracles teaches that no one is outside our minds at all. What he was really saying was that he would not look at you through his ego or perceive your ego in you. Stated positively, he would see you through the Holy Spirit in his mind and perceive it in yours. What you acknowledge in your brother, you are acknowledging in yourself. What you share, you strengthen. The voice of the Holy Spirit is weak in you. That is why you must share it, because it must be increased in strength before you can hear it. It is impossible. It is impossible to hear it in yourself while it is so weak in your own mind. It is not weak in itself, but it is limited by your unwillingness to hear it. So this is just a huge thing here. It's not just wow, we should, treat each other better or see each other through the eyes of Christ. He's really telling us that and as he said, when Helen asked for help, he told them help Bill. When we ask for help, he tells us help your brother. It's
Mhm.
impossible for us to strengthen the spirit in our own heart and mind if we are neglecting the spirit in our brothers before
Exactly.
until we can see them as the Christ. And that's what I was saying about that elected person. Unless I can see the Christ in him, I'm going to be screwed.
We're all one big family, huh?
That's it.
Mm.
So this is, you know, obviously I had not done all the work I thought I needed to do because I'm being given another opportunity
Yeah,
here. So
exactly, exactly. And we don't have to beat up on ourselves if we're, have any kind of feeling or thought that isn't completely peaceful. It's just like, okay, well, the classroom will keep shifting around, coming at us from enough angles until we generalize it and see this every opportunity for choosing again and forgiving really leads us back to that place in our mind where we can make a sane choice and forgive ourselves
exactly.
for our projections. Yeah.
And we have that opportunity every day. And we also are quite capable of doing it, quite capable of doing it and pretending that we're not. So
Yeah,
thank you so
exactly.
much, Bruce Rawls.
Likewise.
And
Have a peaceful week and look forward to the next conversation.
yep, see you next week, my brother.
All righty.
Bye.
Bye.